everyone, this is Suprava. Welcome back to another session with me. In today's session, we will be discussing about clubfoot. So basically, this is an orthopedic condition which is also referred as talipes or talipes equinovarus. And this is a complex condition which involves both the foot and the lower extremities. Now, this clubfoot can be classified into different types. So, we have different types of clubfoot, and the first one is positional clubfoot. So, from the name itself, you can understand that this is due to improper position. So, this is related to position, right? That is why it is called as positional clubfoot. Now, what is positional clubfoot? So, if there is intrauterine crowding, so in case of if there is there is twin, so there will be two fetus inside the uterus, so there will be crowding inside the uterus, right? So because of that, there might not be enough space for the fetus to hold their extremities, and that can cause positional clubfoot. And also, in case of breech position, positional clubfoot can be seen. So basically, this is not a true clubfoot. We cannot call it as a true clubfoot because in this, there will be normal foot which has been held in a deformed position for a long time. And particularly this type of clubfoot, that is positional clubfoot, can be easily corrected with manipulation. So this is one type of clubfoot. The next one is syndromic clubfoot. So here basically there would be other syndromes, other clinical manifestations which are present, and this particular type of clubfoot is actually associated with other types of conditions. So in case of genetic disorders such as trisomy 18 or Edwards syndrome, in those cases we can see clubfoot might be presented. So this is basically this clubfoot results because of some other syndromes, and this will be usually associated with other clinical manifestations. And then the third one is congenital clubfoot. So this is the most common type of clubfoot, and as the name says, you can understand that this is congenital. So this will be present at birth. So in our today's discussion, we would basically focus on congenital clubfoot. So congenital clubfoot is a very common birth defect, and if we see the incidence, we can see that in 1 in every 1,000 live births, congenital clubfoot occurs. So you can understand that how high the prevalence is. Now this can be unilateral or bilateral. That means the clubfoot can be present in one lower extremity, or it can be presented in both the lower extremities, and approximately 50% of the cases are bilateral. So that means it's a bilateral clubfoot. That means both the lower extremities will have this clinical manifestation. And this can occur in both the gender. So that means the male child and the female child both can be affected with this condition. But the male childs are more often affected with congenital clubfoot. Now let us move to the definition of congenital clubfoot. So what the definition says. Now congenital clubfoot or talipes equinovarus is a non-traumatic deformity of the foot in which the foot is twisted out of shape or position. So basically what they are saying is that it is a non-traumatic deformity. That means it does not occur due to any sort of trauma or injury. And in this, the foot will be twisted out of shape or position. So that means the position of the foot will be affected and the shape will also be affected. And in clubfoot, we can also see that the tissues or the tendons which connects the muscles to the bone are usually shorter than normal. Now, as I told you that this is an orthopedic condition, that means the bones will be affected, right? So the bones are responsible for this condition. And I also mentioned that the tendons would be shorter than usual, right? So let us see what are the bones that would be affected majorly. So mainly we have 3 bones that usually gets affected due to clubfoot. The first one is talus, and second one is calcaneus, and the third one is navicular. Now, as you can see in this picture, that talus, which is located exactly below the tibia, and then the calcaneus, which is there in the heel, that is just below the lateral process, and then we have the third bone, that is navicular. So majorly these three bones will be affected in this condition. Now we already know that there are different types of clubfoot, and basically we are focusing on congenital clubfoot, but in congenital clubfoot also there are several types. But before moving into the types of congenital clubfoot, let us get familiar with certain terms. So these terms would help us to understand the types of congenital clubfoot in a better way. Now the first one is cavus. So the term cavus or cavus of foot means the foot has a very high arch, and there would be a curve kind of formation. So here, as you can see in the picture, that the sole of the foot would have a arch kind of formation, and we can also see a curve like formation. So this is called as cavus of foot. And the next one is adduction. So what does this adduction means? Now adduction of foot means movement of the foot towards the body's midline. That is what is called as adduction of foot. And the next one is varus. So what is varus? Now in varus of foot we can see the inward turning of the heel or inversion of the foot, and that results in clubfoot. So this is what is called as varus. And the last one is equinus. So what is equinus of foot? Now equinus of foot happens when the ankle joints have limited flexibility and the dorsiflexion is limited. Now what is dorsiflexion? That we would discuss in later slides. So here basically you have to remember that when the ankle joints lacks flexibility or the dorsiflexion is limited, we call it as equinus. And then we have two more terms, which is dorsiflexion and plantar flexion. So dorsiflexion basically means inward, and the movement, when there is inward movement, we call it as dorsiflexion, and plantar flexion is called as outward. That means when there is outward movement, we call it as plantar flexion. Now next, let us move to the types of congenital clubfoot. So the first type that we have is talipes equinovarus. Now this is the most common type of congenital clubfoot, and if we see, the 95% of all the cases are talipes equinovarus. So you can understand how common this is. Now what happens in this is basically the foot is fixed in plantar flexion, and we know plantar flexion means outward movement, right? So basically the foot is fixed in plantar flexion position. Now next we have talipes calcaneovalgus. So talipes calcaneovalgus, what happens here, that the foot is dorsiflexed. That means the foot is fixed in an